Last week, I got a call from Here and Now's co-host, Anthony Germain. He is an award-winning journalist. He has traveled the world. He's been at the CBC since 1991. He has done a great many stories and great many things, and he spent a lot of time on the St. John's morning show. So he wanted to know if he could come by this week to do an interview with me, and he also had a couple other interviews around town for certain other things. So I did have a chance to interview him. He was more than happy to. He said that he don't get the chance to be on the other side of the chair very often. But now, before we get to that, he left on Thursday, and then Friday night they had a little promo video onto the CBC News. So let's watch that now.
Here and Now and CBC Television faces stiff competition from that other network. Coming soon on Here and Now, the story of the little network that could.
So, so what's going to be, what's the story about and everything else? Well, you have to wait and see, but we give some details in the interview. In the studio today, we have a very special guest. Probably one of the biggest celebrities I've had in AMA News. He is CBC's own Anthony Germain.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for giving me your time for coming in.
More than happy on this trip to Burgeo to talk to you, and really great. The people here have been fantastic, so thanks. It's a little weird being on this side of the desk, though.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well, earlier today, now you had me on the other side.
That's true. That's true.
Which I'm not used to myself.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have him on Here and Now before you know it.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's not good with the live stuff. All right, so maybe before we get to why you're in Burgeo,
okay,
we'll get to, you started in the CBC in Halifax in 91.
Yes, so you've done some research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started in Halifax. That was my first CBC job in the summer of 27 years ago.
Yes. So was that like a summer job?
It was a summer job. I was just out of university. I just finished a master's degree at the University of Western Ontario, and it was my first job. I applied to a couple of stations, and Halifax said, "Come on over," and that was it. Yeah,
perfect. But it's always good that you get seen somewhere after college, right?
Yeah, and I was always told, your generation is not going to be a generation where you're going to work for the same place. And here I am. I did, and in many locations after that. So it's CBC's been good to me.
So you was pretty much scattered around their offices throughout the years and stuff.
Oh yeah, I was in after Halifax. I got hired in Moncton, New Brunswick, and after that was for 2 years. Then I went to Quebec City for 2 years. Then I went to St. John, New Brunswick for 2 years. Then I went to Ottawa. Now that one lasted a little longer, but I was covering politics, federal politics, so working on Parliament Hill. Yep. And then I moved from news and did the morning show in Ottawa. And then after Ottawa, which was there for about 6-7 years, went to China for 5 years.
Yes, so, I hear,
yeah. So I moved from Beijing to St. John's, which was quite an adjustment.
Well, I say. So what was your decision that made you want to go to China for 5 years?
Honestly, Stephen Harper had just been elected Prime Minister, and I'd had the fun job of covering Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin and that government, and I had a feeling that Stephen Harper was not going to be a fun guy to stick around and cover. And if you follow federal politics, there was a lot of hostility between that Prime Minister. Not that he was a bad Prime Minister. Stephen Harper was a very, very smart man, but the relationship with the media with him as Prime Minister were really bad. So I never regretted that. That'd be one reason. But the real reason was the CBC asked me, would you be interested in pursuing it? And so I went home and I asked my townie wife, born and raised in St. John's, I said, what would you think about going to China? And she said, yeah. And I was shocked.
Really?
Well, I thought there'd be no way she'd want to live in China, right? And I didn't speak Chinese. I'd never studied any Chinese. And Shanghai was a city of 22 million people.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
What's Burgeo's population? 1,200, 1,500?
Less than 1,200. Yeah.
Less than 1,200. Okay, so
Yep.
going to a big city was a big deal, and we went there. It was a little weird in the beginning, but then we grew to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster every day.
So did you like learn the language and stuff
I
like
did.
that?
Yep, I did.
Well,
It's starting to rust away a bit, but it is funny going into a Chinese restaurant in St. John's and actually speaking to the waiters in Chinese. They absolutely freak out, right?
oh yeah, you're like, oh.
Yeah, they're not expecting some white dude to start speaking to them,
Yes.
in their own language. So that's good.
Yeah.
But it was a very rewarding experience to learn, and China. So much is happening in China.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
look at our equipment and where was it all made now?
Yeah.
Usually
That's right.
all made in China, right? And it's the economic powerhouse. So
Yeah.
it was fun to be there while this weird nation, and I say weird because China's not really like a country; it's more like a continent. Right? We
Yeah.
look at them, we think there's a sameness,
Yeah.
but there are different Chinese in the north, different Chinese in the south, in the east. They speak different dialects.
Yeah.
So it was a big puzzle, but a fun one every day. There was not a single day in that 5 years that I was bored going to work.
Yes, boy.
Yeah, no, it was always something.
So what is one thing that you remembers really, really well that you'll never forget from over in China?
Do kids watch this show?
Sometimes.
Okay, well, I'll keep it kind of clean. The one thing I'll never forget, I always had fun with the feature stories, there were big news stories. There's a huge earthquake in Sichuan province. It killed 75,000 people. I covered that.
Yeah.
But one story I remember was a small radio documentary, about 5 minutes, and it was about a restaurant in Beijing that served nothing but animal penises.
Really?
Dog penises, boar penises, snake penises. I didn't even know snakes had them. And the most expensive item on the menu was a seal penis.
Really?
And next to that was a Canadian flag. And I always remember thinking, now, did this particular delicacy come from Newfoundland?
Yeah.
Right.
CEOs don't want to call from Newfoundland. Yeah.
But anyhow, and what I remember is that my translator, because my Chinese wasn't very good at that time, he insisted that we try it. And so I tried it, and it was truly disgusting.
I would imagine.
Yeah, don't bother.
Yeah. If you did know what it was and you just eat it, do you think that you would have probably enjoyed it more?
Well, I ate dog by mistake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the northern border of China with Korea, where dog is a delicacy.
Yes.
And I had a plate of food, and I tried it, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know they had turkey." It tasted like the dark meat of a turkey.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think if I tried it with you, you wouldn't notice the difference.
No.
Yeah. Except for the dog collar.
Dog collar.
Yeah. No, but that, I ate
Put it on
it.
plate.
It's funny you asked that because I ate it, and then I remember looking at the waiter and I'm saying, what is this? And he looked at me and he said, "Just a go row." And I knew the Chinese word for dog was go.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my God, I've just eaten dog."
Yeah.
But I liked it. So I can't be upset. I'll be a hypocrite. So I told him it was very good, and I finished it. It was
Really?
good. Yeah, it was a lot better than the other dish.
Don't want to know what that one is.
No, don't bother with that one.
Yes, boy. So now, what brought you back here and did why St. John's?
Well, the wife, yeah. I married a townie, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Burgio. I have to admit it and come clean. I didn't encounter any Burgio women back when perhaps I should have. No,
Yeah.
don't let my wife know I said that. No, my wife, we were together, and she was good enough to follow me around to all those places I mentioned.
Yeah.
So she was with me right from the beginning. So all those Canadian locations, and then China. Although China was kind of a mutual, we decided together. But all the other stuff, and I traveled to war zones and covered conflicts, and I've seen some horrible things. She never really opposed any of the stuff. So I was kind of selfish that way. And so I was in China 5 years. The air was terrible. The authorities were starting to treat journalists like dirt again. Everyone thought of the 2008 Olympics, everything's going to be fine afterwards. China's going to be, it was very naive and stupid of people to think that. So they started mistreating journalists. And so I was having more problems with the police and that kind of stuff. So I said, you know what, I'm ready to go home. And then we found out that the person who was hosting the St. John's Morning Show on radio was going to retire. And so I asked my wife, I said, listen, would you like to live in St. John's? And it was almost like when I asked, would you move to China? Right? She said, absolutely.
That's what.
So that's pretty much it. It was time for me to go where where she wanted to go. And Newfoundland really has become, I've been here, 6.5, 7 years now? It really has become my home. I mean, I really love it here.
Yeah.
You know, I love being able to travel to places like Burgeo, like Salvage in the Eastport Peninsula, the West Coast, St. Anthony. And I've been traveling Newfoundland and Labrador to go fishing. Pretty much the way I travel the world. I mean, I've been to a lot of places in Newfoundland, so I've really started to gain an understanding of what makes you guys tick.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes an outsider to see things.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's very, very true.
Like, I'm sure when you go to St. John's, you probably see things that we don't know about ourselves. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
I've only been to St. John's twice.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. To go to Costco?
No, I go to the hospital there.
Oh, okay. South Health Science Center.
Well, no, I had to have surgery down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's at one point, yeah.
Right.
So now...
the surgery obviously worked.
Oh, yes.
Because you're here.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you was with the morning show for 6 years.
That's right, yeah.
So, did you find being on the radio a more of a comfort place to be? To, you know what I mean, rather than being really in the eye, but you're more or less a voice for a little while?
Yeah, I think, you know, since moving to television here and now, you know, I used to love to go to the supermarket on the weekends, and, you know, I'd have a scruffy beard like you have, and I could just go out. And now, since going to television, it's harder to do that because people recognize you now, right?
Yeah.
But I like the anonymity of radio. I didn't really realize how going on television, obviously you become recognized by a lot of people, right? And the one thing about radio, and you probably know this because you work in television and radio. If I'm doing an interview, now you have the freedom of a radio host because you can make this interview go as long as you want, right?
Yes.
Or as short as you want.
Yeah.
When you're doing a 60-minute television newscast, supper time newscast, it's timed pretty tight, right?
Yes.
You get the commercials. Ryan needs this much time for his weather. We've got this. We've got that. And so if you're doing a live interview and somebody says something really interesting, in radio you can say, "What? Tell me about that. Why'd that happen?"
Yeah.
Whereas in television you can do it, but you really have to keep it tight because if you go too long on anything, it derails the whole show, right? So radio is much more flexible that way. Right?
Yes.
So
And people are more a little bit freer to come on and express their opinions more, and then you can almost give your honest opinion, really, if you're...
Yes, that's
right?
true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're quite right. And you can go longer on
Yes,
radio, right?
yes.
In most interviews, we do on Here and Now, unless it's a really big deal, between 3 and 5 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah.
And in radio, if something's really, really interesting, you can go 10, 12 minutes, or even 25 if it's...
Yes.
It has to be pretty dang interesting to go 25, but, it can happen,
Yeah. Well, here on my news, my interviews is more or less the meat of my stuff. And people...
Do people like them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as far as I know, we do. So now, what made you leave the radio show and be the co-host of the Air Now?
Good question. Two things. You get to a certain age, I'm just over 50. Been doing radio for a long time. I was always sort of dabbling in television, but I'd never really done it full time. Yep. And, getting to work with Debbie Cooper and Ryan Snodden, that's all great. But the real reason is I was frickin' fed up of getting up at 3:15 in the morning. 6 years of getting up at that time is really difficult. It's not really healthy.
No.
And I miss a bit of radio, but I don't miss that part.
Okay.
Right, getting up and then doing a 3.5 hour show that has no commercials, a couple of newscasts. So it was a personal decision, but also, like I was going to say, in your early 50s, you don't very often get a chance to try, a second career, and I hope to retire when I'm relatively young.
Yeah.
So I figure I'll do Here and Now for a few years and find a different, a second career as I get older and older.
No way,
Yeah.
So you could become a brain surgeon.
I don't think that would be in the cards, but maybe a teacher.
Maybe a teacher?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah. I've been doing. I have most of the education courses I need that I did at MUN while I was doing radio.
Yes.
But the downside of moving to Here and Now is I couldn't continue doing those courses, right?
Oh.
Because
so it's on hold for now.
That's right. Put it on hold. Hopefully not forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're up to this point.
Yeah.
We're up to now. So what can you tell us about what you're doing in Burgeo?
Okay. Good question. I guess everybody, if you watch CBC, you probably know that the Olympics were on. So that means our show was cut to half an hour, right? And you don't really need two co-hosts for a half-hour show, because even with commercials, really your show is turned down to about 22 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So the CBC made the decision. Look, it's very popular when you go out and around, sort of explore parts of Newfoundland that we don't get to. So they said make a list, and so on that list I put Trinity, beautiful place, the Humber Valley, and Burgeo. And the reason I put Burgeo, well, two reasons, to be honest. I wanted to come down and talk to a particular individual about sea kayaking so that I can come here in the summer.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not the only reason I came.
No.
But I also knew that there's some stories, and there's a particular individual, and she knows who she is. She works at the school. She contacted me on Twitter because I put a note on Twitter. Hey, Newfoundland, I'm going to hit the road. Let me know why I should come to your community. And so this particular elementary school teacher, who shall remain nameless, sent me a very nice message on Twitter, and I could tell from her tweet how proud she was to be from Burgeo, and how she really felt that if we sent a camera crew and a journalist down here, we could get some great stories. And you look at Burgeo, so beautiful. So between the beauty of Burgeo and interesting characters like you and many others, I knew we would get some good stories here. So that's essentially why we came. The Olympics and really, I think, to be fair, I mean, nobody at CBC is going to like to hear me say this, but one of the criticisms of both the big shows that come out of St. John's, us and the other network, is it's very St. John's centered.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And yet both shows say they're provincial. So there was a feeling, I think, out around the Bay that, all right, we get it. Right? St. John's is the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Right? And to our credit, I think, we do try to get out when we can.
That's right.
But as you know, I mean, look at your highway. How often would we be able to come here?
Well, it's like, a 9-hour drive from St. John's to here?
Yeah.
So
on a good day, in the winter, right? And my drive here down that highway was...
Yeah. See why we've been trying to get cell phone service?
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. Actually, I only recently found out that from the Trans-Canada to the 90-degree turn, it's considered a dead zone.
A dead zone? In what sense?
In the sense that if there was an accident...
You're dead?
Pretty much.
I shouldn't be laughing.
No.
You mean the cell phone dead zone?
No.
The Valley of Death?
There is absolutely no one required to come and rescue you.
Really?
Yeah.
So, but you know as well as I do, somebody from Burgeo is bound to pass you, and they would help you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's your only hope.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and then you would have to either determine, okay, I'm this far away from Burgeo, or I'm that far away from Steenville, or you know what I mean. So, but I think what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to maybe make so that St. George's, it will be designated for that area because it is.
Oh, okay.
It is closer, right?
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean. If someone from Burgeo got to call and rescue them, 45-minute drive or an hour, and then 45 minutes back.
Yeah.
And then anyway, they would probably have to wait and see what happens, and they would probably have to be sent off to Corner or Steenville anyway.
Wow.
Right? Because that.
We should be doing a story about that.
Well, that's something that I recently found out, in which that I think they are going to get the Steenville because there was an accident there, say, and they called in, and Burgeo was not required to go.
Right.
And then they called like the other areas, and they had no obligation to go.
Really?
So anyway, they had to negotiate who was going to go.
It's called the dead zone. I can see that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be stuck.
Yeah. So.
And if you're injured, the response time is bad, right? To get you out and get you, to get to you and get you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know.
So it's really good of you to scare the living bejeebers out of me as I'm going to head back to St. John's.
You need a satellite phone.
Yep, the satellite phone would come in handy.
Yeah. So I guess you saw the Buckins Road too, the one that everyone is.
The one that his
talking about. So what do you think about that now? You know what I mean? Some people want it paved, some people don't. It would shave off some time.
It would definitely shave off some time, but I think as it is with so many provincial spending issues. I mean, the province is tapped, right? And when I think they're looking at how do we serve the greatest number for the greatest good.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the politicians, that means the greatest votes.
Yeah, that's right.
How many votes does that get us? Right?
Yeah.
So I think politically, I'm not sure, maybe you have an MHA who's interested, but I'm not sure if the whole government's interested.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
that'd be my fear.
Yeah. And is it really necessary? Or just to save a couple hours?
There are a lot of communities across this island that want their various roads paved. But
like us, we really desperately needs our full highway paved, but it's not going to happen.
No, although thanks to your work,
Yeah.
a lot of improvements were made because of this guy. So keep up the good work, and call them out on stuff when things need to be fixed. But I think also, so many places like Burgeo hope that tourism is going to help them, and some people hope that tourism is going to save them. I don't think tourism will save that many places.
No.
But it can help a lot.
Yeah.
And the harder it is to get here,
Yeah.
the more difficult it is to attract the kind of tourism you would want, right?
That's right.
I mean, I came here from Twillingate, right?
Yeah.
Long drive. But in Twillingate, now they've got an advantage. They've got these icebergs that show up every, May, June and all that. And so people flock there. But
Yeah.
I think there are people who would come here if maybe Burgeo did a better job of promoting itself.
Yeah.
Right? Because, for instance, as I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, my wife and I really like sea kayaking a lot, and we like hiking a lot. And I didn't see a lot of signs for boat tours, kayaking.
Yeah.
My understanding is you got some islands around here that there were that were resettled.
Yeah.
I didn't know that till I came here. Right?
what-
So that
yeah.
means there's graveyards over there.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have specialized camping trips, one night or two nighter.
Yeah.
There are possibilities, but I think people have got to open their minds to, okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
It really is, Burgeo's beautiful on its own,
Yeah.
but if I've never heard of Burgeo, how are you going to get me here?
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
and the other thing is you're competing with a lot of other towns in Newfoundland,
Yeah.
right? Look at Fogo.
That's right.
And Trinity, as I mentioned, Port Rexton, a lot of these places, right? So,
Yeah. Fogo has been attracting a lot of celebrities in Hollywood.
yeah, it helps when,
Right.
a gazillionaire builds a wackily famous hotel there, right?
Yeah.
Or
So-
inn, sorry, it's an inn.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the inn, yeah.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
like the sort of inns I've stayed at along the side of the highway.
Yes, boy, yeah. But yeah, with the highway, yeah, and I seen the issue. I called him out on it. Andrew Parsons, he saw what I was seeing.
Yeah.
He took it to government and got things going. And what really put the nail on the head was when he brought down the transportation minister down.
Yeah.
And he bust his tire. Lit and drive, and he bust his tire. And then he's like, oh, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
And then after that, we started getting recaps and all this stuff. All it takes
So what
is
did Parsons
sometimes-
do? Did he lay down like a 2x4 full of nails or something? How did he plan that?
He went in a big pothole, as far as I know, and just wrecked his tire, Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good luck.
Well, sometimes it takes something bad to happen to get something done?
Yeah, and hopefully that wasn't that bad.
No. He just...
Inconvenient.
Yeah. He just...
Funny, though, that when it happens to a politician, it's obviously... Something must be done.
Yeah. Well, it's the powers that be, right?
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
So, when can we expect some of these stories that you done this week?
Okay, good
on
question.
news?
Now, most of these are featurey stories, so they're not time specific, so they can go everywhere. So we have a story about you, and I had no idea there was a broadcasting system down here. I don't think a lot of townies know that either.
Nope.
So we'll have a nice feature about that. We'll have a nice feature about the school.
Yeah.
All right, Burgeo Academy. And I shouldn't talk too much about what the stories are about. Otherwise, people say, don't want to watch that. But probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Some will go sooner because there's a fair bit of production.
That's right.
And so when you go back, or when I go back, there's going to be the daily news sort of stuff. So on those days where we have time, we really want to put these items together really nicely to sort of make them shine and make Burgeo shine and make people who are watching across Newfoundland and Labrador sort of see the characters of Burgeo and the beauty of Burgeo, right? So these stories I think they're all interesting and they're all fairly positive.
Yeah.
Right, so I think a lot of people criticize us for being too negative. I don't know about you. What's it like working in a small place? Does everybody go in front of a camera with you?
No.
Okay.
Not many people, unless they got to or whatever. But I wish more people would speak on the camera. But I get a lot of, I don't want to be on camera.
All right, because everybody knows.
Go away.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Go away.
I can tell you though that happens everywhere. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm really happy anyone that wants to come in and do an interview, or if you wants to come in and just inform the people of Birdville, because that's what the BBS is for here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're here to inform the people of town on what's going on, what is important, and stuff like that, right? So, unfortunately, there's not overly lot amount of news happening. You know what I mean? Every now and then you might get an accident, which is you know what I mean, I'll go and do and cover it. I usually stays back. I don't really get too up close with it and stuff and stuff. But I tries to get wherever I can.
But geez, a lot of people I talked to in my brief time here, they all love watching. Right, so you're obviously doing something right. I mean, it's an important community service, really. Letting people know what's going on in a town is a vital service.
Yeah.
And also, if anything, supremely important or big happens, because of where you are, you're going to be the first person there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. And while I have in the past tried to get some of the news I do get out to the rest of the province, so you mean sometimes I contact you guys at CBC or in TV or whoever wants news or like the golf news paper. I mean, sometimes when they all like the golf news, I'll call and say, well, I've seen this happen. You got any pictures or information on that?
Right.
Yeah, sure. Sends it to them. As long as they don't want me to write for them, I'm fine.
Well, listen, now that I've got your number,
then
when things are happening in Burgeo, I know who to call now.
Yes.
All right?
Yes, sir.
We'll make it a deal.
No
and thank
problem.
you for inviting me. This has been a lot of fun. I don't get to be interviewed that often. I prefer to be on that side.
I do too. Well, I don't like being interviewed or being the host, but
thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it, and I would say that my viewers really appreciate it as well.
Good. Well, I hope so. And Burgeo, you got a beautiful little town here, and I'd really love to see the economy here thrive and improve and keep people here as much as you can, because it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.